Johannes Brahms is my favorite composer, and so I didn't quite finish his story in the last lecture. Brahms, again, was born to a very impoverished family. Eventually, he meets the Schumanns, and the Schumanns welcome him into their home. Brahms is called a romantic classicist, and he's going to get the classic style more from Robert Schumann and the romantic style more from Clara. Robert was a big believer in absolute music, and so he knew the sonata cycle, and all of his music is very organized in terms of its form. He shows a lot of his romanticism again in the field of Lieder. Well, Robert Schumann becomes Brahms's mentor, and he tells him, you should go to the land of music. You should move to Vienna one day. You should be in the city of Mozart, in the city of Beethoven. You should do one thing at any given time and do it well, and then once you feel like you've exhausted that particular field, move on to the next. So all the different things that Schumann believed in, he had passed on to his student Johannes Brahms. But Schumann, before he went completely crazy, did write about Brahms in some of the articles that was writing for the New Journal for Music. He heralded Brahms as the next Beethoven, a musical messiah, so to speak. And so people in Vienna and across Europe were eagerly awaiting the arrival of Johannes Brahms. Brahms was asked to stay on at the Schumann household when Schumann went insane in 1854 and help out Clara with the children. Clara was always very devoted to Robert, but Brahms fell deeply in love with Clara, and this was an unrequited love affair. So Brahms never married, but always held great admiration and love for Clara in his heart. He stayed with her after Robert Schumann's passing, and he learns from her. Clara is as much of a teacher to Brahms as is Robert Schumann. Clara, who was the touring artist, was the more contemporary soul, and so she was able to pass on the new romantic, very energetic and very mature, very charged style of electricity within music. And so Brahms is going to take both sets of opinions and merge them together, again referred to as the romantic classicist. I want to talk about just a couple of different ideas for Brahms. Brahms wanted to always write a composition and dedicate it to his mentor, Robert Schumann. However, he was not able to find the exact thing that he wanted to do, and then his mother passed away in the 1860s. So after the passing of his mother, Brahms decided that he was going to write a composition and dedicate it to his mother and to Robert Schumann. This composition is called the German Requiem. Brahms was a Lutheran, and so he was not going to write a Roman Catholic Requiem, but instead he wanted to write something that was a little bit more comforting. The text from the Roman Catholic Requiem says, "Grant them eternal rest, O Lord." Brahms wanted to write something that was going to be comforting to those who are left behind to mourn the passing of their loved ones. So Brahms started to research and find texts from the Bible, such as from the Beatitudes, "Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted." And he chooses texts like that to include in his Requiem. The Roman Catholic Requiem uses the Latin language. So by Brahms using his own text, his own German vocabulary, that's why this is called the German Requiem or the Deutsch Requiem, because it's a non-Latin language Requiem. Brahms puts this together in 7 movements, and it becomes a cyclical idea where the first and the 7th movement have the same form, have the same tempo, have the same structure. Likewise, 2 and 6 and 3 and 5. So you have this bell curve idea where you have this build up to the 4th movement and a denouement off of it. The 4th movement is the one that is so heavenly and so used at a lot of different funerals today. It's called How Lovely Are Thy Dwelling Places, O Lord of Hosts. And it has this beautiful, romantic, soaring melody at the end. That's the piece from the German Requiem that's on your listening list. The other thing that I would like to talk about is Brahms' symphonies. His symphonies are absolute, but the third symphony is something that has a wonderful exception to it. The third symphony's third movement is not a dance like it normally is. Instead, it's a ABA, a ternary form piece that showcases some beautiful, again, very vibrant romantic ideas. The A section has 2 parts. The B section has 2 parts, and then you come back to the A section again. And the main segment of the A section, therefore, is heard 4 times, 2 in the beginning and 2 at the end. And each time it's different orchestration that you hear. I want you to listen to this because this is one of the most beautiful pieces of music that's contained on your listening list altogether. And it showcases the structure style, the classic nature from Robert Schumann, but the very soaring romantic style that he's achieved from Clara. Brahms was able to play and compose all throughout his time in Vienna, and he contracted cancer and died in 1897. Leaving us with 4 symphonies, 4 concerti, countless solo works for piano and chamber ensemble music, and over 200 lieder. So he is continuing the tradition of the German art song, and some of his lieder are actually not just for voice and piano, but they're for voice and orchestra. So we're kind of moving in a different direction with some of the final lieder by Brahms. There are many other lieder composers such as Richard Strauss and Hugo Wolf. So this is a very rich tradition of art song. So I hope you've enjoyed the stories of Schubert, the Schumanns, and Johannes Brahms. We have one more segment to do under this romantic heading. We're going to take a look at romantic opera next.